What's up, hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. My name is Dan Bradley, alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing tonight, buddy?
How's it going, buddy? I'm good. Doing good. Not because it's nighttime, but all day I couldn't see about 5 feet out of my my balcony because we have been engulfed in fog all day.
Oh boy.
How's the East Coast doing?
You know, we haven't had fog. We just had a bunch of rain today, which kind of sucks, but I'll take rain over snow for sure. And it was like 60 something here today, so
oh yeah. No, your life is horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
It's terrible. It's no, can't complain.
Yeah.
Busy day today too. We had North Carolina announced their launch date for sports betting for online. They've had in person, but it's incredibly inconvenient to go bet in person at the casinos. So they are launching online sports betting. March 11th is the launch date, but then people can start signing up on March 1st. So now that when we do our pick segment, I can actually back up the picks financially and make a little coin on the side here.
I actually just had the worst beat of my betting life, which is 2 years now, I think, right? It's been legal here
pretty close.
It was
Illinois' been at it a while, but you really got into it. I mean, doing this show helped kind of get you more into it.
Oh yeah, easily. But outside of hockey, the NFL playoffs both have been phenomenal. Obviously, they've been everything we always love and hope they are. Have been generous to me in the betting perspective. Yeah, lose a little bit, but win where it counts, like pretty big ones.
Mm-hmm. So 3-1 in the pick segment last week too, by the way.
Yep, and I didn't actually put a bet on that one. I thought about trying. Like I was like, I'm gonna go 4-0, and then I hesitated. But anyway, I had, just for fun, I did this weird like 5-leg parlay on the Bills Chiefs, which was everything it lived up to be. That game was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And all 5 legs hit, but 3 of them were rushing yard legs.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them went so far ahead that I didn't really have to worry about it. It was Josh Allen's and Isaiah Pacheco's. Their overs hit by a long shot. And then I had James Cook's over, and he was over. His over was, I think it was 61 and a half.
Yeah, it was 60 something 0.5.
It was 61 and a half. At one point, he was at like 64. Yeah, he was at 64. And then his last 2 rushes he had, one of them was a 4-yard loss. So now I'm below again. And then he had 2 more, one of which looked like a no gain, and I believe it was, and one of them looked like a 2-yard gain. And the app, FanDuel, actually said, yeah, he's at 62. So he was at 62 out of 61 and a half. And then after the game finally ended and went final, and clearly the math guys went through and double checked, they changed it, and he actually finished with 61. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, half a yard. Like, and this is why when we say the sports books always win, like their job is to try and get as close to that number as possible when they set these lines, get the action to be about 50% on either side. So that way they're making the money no matter what. That's just setting an elite line from the sports books. Like you can't, what can you do? You shake your head and they nailed that one.
To be fair, it was also a free bet that I used, so that's why I wasn't like pissed, but I was like, that's definitely the worst I've had. Anywho.
Yeah, Joey, I was going to put up Joey's here.
We'll throw it. It's foggy. It's always foggy and gross in Minnesota.
No, that's Seattle. Come on, man.
That's fair. It's
Minnesota's snowy or just hot and humid.
Joey's right. It's a heat wave here. It's short season. We are netting about 50 to 60 degrees higher than we were because we were at like negative 20. But then, yeah, Joey's on a hot streak with Prize Picks. I might hit you up for that. I haven't tried it. I wouldn't mind trying it. I don't know how it works, but I could try it. So Dan, we got some.
I'm going to go back to the football thing for a minute because I was actually at a hockey game during the end of the Lions game and the start of the Bills-Chiefs game.
Speaking of which, let's go Lions.
Yes.
I don't even care that I'm a Bears fan. I don't care.
We're riding that wagon. I'm reasons going with Baltimore. So I still got to cheer Baltimore against the Lions if both make it, but I can genuinely be happy if both of those teams make the Super Bowl. I won't have to worry about the outcome either way. I'll be happy no matter what.
See, I'm like you. I don't hate the Chiefs. What?
A really cool one that the Carolina Hurricanes do at some of their home games. We talking to some of the Canes fans that were sitting next to us.
Those bunch of jerks.
And there are a bunch of jerks, but they weren't a bunch of jerks. Like we sat by chill, cool people. So it was great.
That was just an old man yelling at the sky anyway.
But they had so they have what's called a popcorn Zamboni, which is this big Zamboni, and they pop the top off and they fill it up with popcorn.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
It's cool. And not only that, but $25 you get unlimited refills on it too. So that pretty much made the trip for Michelle.
That sets up I think we're going to close out the show with a question about going to games, but we'll close out the show.
Okay.
We'll close out the show. That's a nice tease. And we'll kick off the show because we got some stuff to talk about with Alex's comment, because he is damn right. It has been the weirdest NHL season ever.
It has been bonkers. And we've mentioned that when we've done our pick segments at the end of the show. We've mentioned that with Corey Perry getting pulled from the bench, removed from the game, contract terminated, and now he's signed. We're going to talk about that later in the show.
Yep.
We've had historic winning streaks, historic losing streaks. I have to wonder what the record is for number of coaches fired during the season, and really wonder if this year is getting close. But Alex, I think you're spot on. This is one of the weirdest seasons ever in terms of how everything has gone. Look at the standings too, for just where some of these teams are at now. I mean, the Flyers are second place in the Metro, and we're almost at the end of January. And if you had told us before this season that was going to be the case, end of January, and the Flyers are in second, we would have called you nuts.
And without looking, who currently leads the entire NHL right now?
Like in points?
Yes, they are first in the entire league.
The Vancouver Canucks.
What?
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. As HP says here, NHL scriptwriters are having a time. They say, okay, we see you NFL playoffs. We see you and we raise you.
The NHL scriptwriters are clearly also working with the WWE, because who else isn't working with the WWE now? They're going to be on Netflix in 2025. I love it. As everyone knows, I think as everybody knows, I mean, we had our lovely, awesome guest, Isha. He's big in the fighting scene. I am big in the WWE, the wrestling scene. So we can, and that's sick. And that's exactly what the NHL writers are doing. They're clearly working with Triple H over there, writing some crazy WWE style scripts for the NHL this year.
And not just the NHL, but international hockey that also unfortunately impacts the NHL. And we do need to start by talking about that. Yeah. The fallout from the 2018 Canadian World Juniors team. There was an alleged sexual assault that had occurred during the tournament and was also alleged to have involved players from the Canadian World Juniors team. With news breaking today that 5 players were ordered to surrender to the London, Ontario police.
And then coincidentally,
one of those things where we've also seen 4 active NHL players and 1 former NHLer who's currently playing in Europe, coincidentally for now, being put on indefinite leave from their teams. It's one of those things where you read between the lines and you can sort of speculate that the two are correlated. We, of course, aren't going to say outright that is the reason until such time as that's confirmed by police. But
No.
The writing is kind of on the wall here. And really, this is something that has been a legal disaster for years. You see the 2018 date, it's 2024 now. It has taken a long time. It has taken multiple investigations from the Ontario Police, from Hockey Canada, from the NHL.
Yep.
The NHL also said it would make public whatever it found in its report, and has closed the investigation, but still hasn't made that report public. So, Joel, is part of the reason that the NHL hasn't, because of what we were waiting for today, the news that these players are being ordered to surrender, and presumably that there are going to be criminal charges to follow?
It's so delicate, right?
Yes, that's why we called this show Treading Lightly.
Yeah. So yes, I agree. I think that's, look, we know the league they never handle anything correctly most of the time. In this case, I'm almost willing to say they're handling it all right for right now, only because we haven't gotten actual convictions yet. The report
or even charges.
Exactly.
So we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. What we do know is the London police released that, that statement of like, all right, we're offering these five players to surrender to, the London police office. And then, yeah, like you said, coincidentally, and it's almost too close to each other. But again, we're the two of us are not going to sit here and say that these five players are for certain guilty of these alleged charges, and they're disgusting charges. But but the thing is it's so close together, you have to wonder. And that's what we're doing. Like, we're not sitting here accusing these five, and you know what? It's out there in public. Those five players, it was that all those five players were mentioned by their team's official Twitter accounts and such, saying that they have been granted those leave of absences. And those five players are Cal Foote, Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and then Alex Formenton. All of them were a part of that 2018 World Juniors team, Canadian World Juniors team. We're just giving you the names because they're out there. It's not like we're breaking that news. The names are out there. They were all granted a leave of absence today, about an hour or so after the
now Dubé's was a couple days ago, so there was that, but that also,
you're right
we don't necessarily know, was that tied to this? The team said that it was mental health related, which if and again, part of the problem is, if these players did what they are accused of doing and get convicted, there are still people who are going to say, well, that was all that time ago. They don't really need to face.
And actually, I don't want to interrupt you,
or
Mateo chimes in with a good point, since we're talking about Dylan Dubé specifically here. Yeah, we should be careful.
Which is the point I was getting to here.
Yeah, so we should be careful with Dylan Dubé, because if Calgary is being honest, the internet is hazing a man recovering from mental. Abso-fucking-lutely. And that's what we were getting to. Exactly. Mateo, you are absolutely right.
Outrage is easy. Nuance is difficult. And it is far easier to snap and say, here are all of these things that make it look like, they did it. Or even on the flip side of that coin, if these players did it, but there is not sufficient evidence to convict of a crime.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that a crime did not happen. That just means that they can't necessarily prove it. That doesn't make the alleged victim a liar.
And it doesn't absolve the alleged, the accused.
Right. So we kind of have to trust that the legal system, the London police, have investigated this thoroughly. I mean, 5 years now, roughly, of investigation. They have to have some degree of sufficient evidence to even pursue these types of charges. So we'll see what the ultimate fallout is. Don't want to speculate on what possible legal penalties would be.
Right.
I think it's one of those things where if players are convicted, their NHL careers are over. If they're not convicted, they'll be picked up pretty quick, but things are absolutely on hold for now. And as frustrating as that can be for hockey fans, we need to wait on this one.
Well,
even longer than what we've perceived to have already waited.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. Again, it does boil down to just because X person on Twitter wants to know now, sorry, you're not the only person in the world. You're not entitled to know now. There is a due process to all this stuff. And exactly what Mateo brought up too. Like, just because there is this coincidence of those 5 players getting those leaves right around the time that this report comes out, and those other 5 players are told to turn themselves in, it could be total happenstance. Obviously, the writing on the wall doesn't necessarily lead to it being total happenstance.
The optics aren't great.
Exactly. It's so that's why it's like, look, I'm not saying it's either way. You're right. The optics are definitely not great, and I'm sure what the thing is with everything happening today, we're gonna get more light shed on this, I think, very soon. But yeah, exactly. You have to. Again, when it's disgusting shit like this, stuff that should not happen, like sexual assault, it should not happen. Unfortunately, it does. Regardless of what it is, the world has and always been innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
A lot of people like to go guilty until proven innocent now, but you can't do that.
Right. They operate innocent until proven guilty in court of law, and then guilty until proven innocent in the court of public opinion.
Yep.
And those two always seem to be juxtaposed to some degree.
Right.
Which again, it leads to bad faith arguments on social media. It leads to rapid spread of misinformation. We've heard players who so far have not been put on leave, but because they were a part of that team, it's been speculated, was this player involved? Were they present? Did they know? What did they know? What didn't they know? Should they be put on leave anyway to go speak and testify and whatever? Trust what the experts are doing, because we are not experts when it comes to legal proceedings.
Not even close.
I am not a lawyer. I trust the people whose job it is to do that job. Until then, I'm just going to be happy to share with our Snipe Celly viewers whatever news comes up as a result of that and analyze things from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mateo with an interesting point here, that the NHL struggles with optics and says, I do hate that the NHL keeps commenting on everything while giving full press to the Utah-Arizona issue, which another thing as well, talks of expansion to Utah, to Salt Lake City, talks of maybe do the Coyotes move, especially if they aren't able to get an arena deal done. There's an arena being built, but there's still no guarantees on that.
Right.
It's the NHL, to Mateo's point, is one of the best organizations in the world at getting in their own way. I really hope that things are handled appropriately here. And as we wait and see what comes as a result over these next few weeks, perhaps months, I would anticipate this is not something that, you show up in court on Thursday, it goes to trial next Monday, and they have it resolved by Friday. Like, that's not going to be the case here.
Nope.
It's going to take some time.
We're going to have to wait.
However it plays out, we're going to have to wait. But this is
It's a shitty situation.
In this, yeah, because there's just an affiliation with the sport that we love. It's a black eye on the game, and the fact that this was allowed to have been to have required a 6-year investigation into what happened, rather than this was reported immediately, and the players who, if they were involved, and if this incident did happen, as has been described, if it did happen that way, it should have been dealt with years ago, and that we're still here years later waiting for answers, waiting for clarity. It just sucks. And I hope that we are moving towards a world where this sort of stuff, one, doesn't happen, period, but two, if it does, that we are able to handle things in a more effective manner, and in a manner that is able to be supportive and respectful of all parties involved under the law. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I won't even reiterate that. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what it is. There's no easy way to segue, but we got a lot of conversation going on in the comments. Let's get to some of those before we move on.
Sure.
I don't have a mouse currently. It died. So
well then I would call out some of our comments here. I'll help you out here.
I mean, we got some other side news we should at least try and mention. Joey's first, the Bloomington Bison.
Hang on, there we go. Yeah, I can't believe the Bloomington Bison don't get their own show.
Yeah, the Bloomington, Illinois are getting an ECHL team.
You'll love to see it.
Hey, and that's fine, because we're going to hate them anyway, because they're going to be rivals with the other ECHL team that we belonged to, which was the Peoria Rivermen.
I hope they can make hockey work in that area. The ECHL has had some struggles with keeping teams in Bloomington in the past, and with just in the region in general, keeping teams going.
And also, HP's comment up there for the NHL, the Utah speculation.
Yeah. As far as expansion, I don't know that I could see expansion right now. I feel like the NHL really has a good system. 32 teams, 4 divisions, 8 per. The math is solid on that. I wouldn't mess with expansion. Relocation, I would absolutely hate to see that for Coyotes fans to have been a punchline for this league for years. With all of the moving around that they've had to do with hockey in the desert will never work. All of that. And then this team is finally starting to look like they're putting it together. They have some outstanding talent in the system that they're able to build around. The arena is coming. And then for the NHL to be hinting at, well, maybe we'll move them to Salt Lake City. That absolutely is a kick in the teeth to Coyotes fans.
I hate it. And I had followed a little bit of the arena talks over the offseason a little bit, and all the voting and stuff like that. And a lot of, to nobody's surprise, the retirement community in Arizona kept shooting down the arena everywhere they tried. Tempe, where else was there? Glendale, obviously. And then they landed on one other one that really had some traction, and then it just died. I can't remember where it was.
Was that maybe Scottsdale or Flagstaff?
Might have been Scott. Maybe it was Scottsdale.
I think Scottsdale.
And it was always like, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it. It was always the much, much older community shooting it down because they don't want the foot traffic. And to that I say, yeah, you're not voting that you don't want foot traffic. All you're saying is get off my lawn. Now,
yeah, a lot of NIMBYs.
Yeah. What else we got here? We got some great conversations going on in the comments. I love this. I have my mouse back too. So
okay. Guile chiming in to say the fate is in the law of the land. Good or bad, we can't change what occurred. Yep, we can't change what occurred, and we aren't ones who know what occurred. So we have to trust the people who are tasked with finding out what did happen to find out what happened.
Hey, what do you mean we don't
Yeah.
know? Trust my source, man. My sources trust me, bro.
My source is I made it up.
I made it up. And then Mark. Thought you guys started at 8 my time. Hope you
Yep, we had to bump things up a little bit this week. Joel's got a bowl.
Got a bowling league starting tonight, a beer league. But
which
hey, take it seriously. We won the championship last year. We gotta try and go back to back here.
Which also means, and we'll say this now and we'll say it again at the end of the show. Starting next week, we're going to be going back to Tuesdays. That was our original day, our original time. Tuesdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Put it on your calendars. We'll see you back here. That's the plan. But yes, Mark, hope you're doing great as well. Shout out to your Bruins as well for winning last week for us on the pick segment.
Thank you.
We put our faith in them, and they rewarded us for that, for the persistence there.
Also, I just
Yeah.
love this name.
Gun-toting Granny.
Gun-toting Granny.
Gun-toting Granny chiming in. Mateo chiming in. Guile, Joey, HP, Mark.
We got just everyone's talking. Come on. Talking about the NFL. Hey, I'm with you. I don't hate KC. I don't.
Or hang on. I want to check with
KC.
Granny here. KC is a potential expansion relocation spot.
Hell yes. Absolutely. I like that.
I could see it. I think that is a interesting market choice. I don't know how successful necessarily it would be.
Mark chiming back into
Salt Lake and Atlanta.
Atlanta is hot.
The NHL wants hockey in Atlanta. It's such a massive market. And here it is. Gun-toting Granny saying expansion.
Yeah, and then Mark, thank you. Tucson.
Yeah, Tucson.
Yes.
Tucson, which Tucson has the Roadrunners. So to have an NHL team with the AHL team right there in that same area could work. It would be interesting to see there. And Mark saying as well that KC already has the arena. All very valid points to consider. Granny saying we have ECHL around here, but no pro. Yep.
No, totally. But I think that's a good segue into, we were talking about the kind of somber-ish topic here, and this is less somber, but also still like a serious topic.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we talk about we don't necessarily know things that happened with this. We absolutely will. But we'll move from that to something I don't know if we're ever going to know. And that's Corey Perry is back in the league already. He signed with the Edmonton Oilers. I actually was going to make a tiny amount of light of one thing you did say. Not making a joke about the entire situation of the World Juniors. There's nothing funny about that. What you did say, though, is yes, obviously, whoever of the players gets convicted, their NHL career is over, unless the Edmonton Oilers sign them.
I mean, shoot, there's that. Joel, I want to pick your brain on this because Perry was on whatever incident happened involved your team in some capacity.
Yep.
And your team let him go. And we don't know what happened. And then we had John Scott, who works with NBC Chicago, say something on a podcast and then later have to retract what he said as factually incorrect. It's one of those things where there's so much murkiness about it. I personally am of the belief that we're never going to know. And if we end up finding out at some point what happened, at this point, it's there's nothing we as fans can do except just kind of shake our heads and roll our eyes and go from there. As a fan who that didn't affect my team, it's another one that kind of is an eyebrow raiser. What is it from your perspective as a Blackhawks fan seeing this happen involving your team?
We kind of talked about my perspective when it actually happened. I mean, he's been gone now for a couple months, and we just kind of look, he's gone.
Right.
He's gone. It's out the door. I don't know if there's any legal stuff going on between the affected employee and him. I'm assuming there isn't, but I don't know. Just from the perspective, though, like you mentioned the John Scott thing, like it was on his podcast. We listened to the snippet. I'll give the abridged version to everybody else. He basically just came out and was like, and I quote, like, look, the Corey Perry thing, like he quote, made a pass at an NBC employee while after getting too drunk at a employee thing, which we knew that. We knew all that parts, or we knew those parts, and that's what escalated it. He then, like you said, you mentioned he retracted a statement in a tweet from his just direct Twitter accounts, and his tweet was, on my podcast this week, I made a false and misleading statement regarding former Blackhawk Corey Perry. It was an off-the-cuff remark that is completely unfounded and not true. It was a poor choice of words, and I'll try to be more careful in the future. I definitely think the network had something to do with, like, hey, John, like, run that, like, step back on that one a little bit, my guy. Because yes, he does. He's an analyst. He's an in-studio analyst for NBC Sports Chicago. For those who don't know,
he has connections to the team, and whether he outright knows what happened or alluded to what happened or just does not know and is speculating, like, again, a theme on hockey Twitter, speculating. Yeah,
and we don't know. And then Corey Perry, obviously, like, he had his little press conference. He went up there, he kind of chuckled and was like, he got the help he needed, I guess is what he said. And I think some of it was like he's worked with mental health experts. He worked with some substance abuse experts. I guess the whole thing is like, I get it. Like, he was known for being a rat on the ice. I don't know if he was ever known for being this kind of person behind the scenes. Maybe he was, and no one ever really knew about it. Now we do. That's my perspective, just from him being on the team. Because that was it. When we signed him, it was a thing of like, this wasn't like oh my God, like, we're taking a risk here. It was, no, we're signing a guy who pisses people off on the ice, but he's a decent player. He's obviously up there in age, but whatever. He's a veteran. That's why we signed him. And for a short amount of time, it was working. He was a good mentor to Bedard and all the other young guys in the room, and he was a part of the leadership group. He had an A on his sweater. Like, it was pretty much all intents purposes. The main quote captains for us this season were Nick Foligno primarily, Seth Jones, and then Corey Perry. And then that all changed, and rightfully so. But here's the other thing that John Scott went on to say in that podcast. He stepped back on his comments on what happened and retracted that. Good on him. But the thing he said that was actually very correct was talking about how whatever it was, and you're right, I don't know if we're ever going to know. And it's HR. We aren't entitled to know with it when it comes to HR stuff. But he did say, like, in an organization like the Blackhawks, that obviously with all the Kyle Beach stuff and setting a precedence for new and a totally refreshed and reformed code of conduct in the organization, when somebody, and I mean anybody, player, employee, broadcaster, or even an affiliate with the team, if they have any, relation there or any power there, if somebody breaks said code of conduct, even the slightest bit, they're going to get rid of them, because that's what the precedent is now, and they have to do that, and they're going to stand by it, and they did. So he said that I agree with. And I think they did the right thing. Regardless of what it was clearly enough to get terminated, but whatever he did, they did the right thing. In this case, the Oilers are bringing in a guy who's got now, some murky waters, but this isn't the first time they've done it.
Mark, I see in the comments here, and I want to put this up just to make light of a situation or anything there. But Mark had commented that Carter Hart has been arrested, and then immediately retracted it and realized that the source that he had looked at was not credible. This is part of the problem with Twitter, and this is part of why I got off Twitter, is because there was a system in place so that you knew, hey, this is actually Elliot Friedman who is tweeting this, and not an Elliot Friedman parody account tweeting this. They have made it so easy to blur the lines between who's legit and who is not. And it's so frustrating. And I think it's a disservice to the players when something like this happens. It's a disservice to sexual assault victims when things like this happen. Like it's so frustrating. And Mark, I'm sorry you got. But it's happened to all of us. We've all got on Twitter.
And what you did was exactly what more people should friggin' do, and that's check your damn source and then retract it if you're wrong, because it's not. It's okay if you're wrong.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, but then you find out, you retract it and you own it. Not many people do that. That's why we love Mark. But also,
Mark, you're a good guy, certified good guy, Mark.
I'll make light of it too. I love the whole we almost broke some news. Like, absolutely, everybody, if you're following shit while you're watching us and we don't see it, give us the breaking news, because hell yeah.
Right. But again, check your sources, because we don't want to say, oh, so-and-so said this in the comments, and we just take it and run with it. And while you were saying there,
right. So
and
was Bear got tried and hit out a reporter, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And to Gun Tote and Granny's point here, got stalkers from putting picture up. No way you're giving your name. That's fine.
Yeah.
But also not necessarily counting on you to be the one who is breaking news of whether or not a hockey player is being arrested for an alleged sexual assault.
It's also
there's that aspect to it as well.
I gotta change.
And by the way, we do love your username.
Oh, your Twitter handle is
fantastic.
So don't ever change that. Don't ever change that, please. I love it. Here we go. Sources say, "Oh, come on."
I didn't see where you're going with sources say. I was just putting out the comment from Mark.
We got more breaking news. Breaking news: HP is in need of a beer. Me too.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, right. Me too. And
have a beverage of your choice after the show.
Social media is the most misleading source of information we have. Damn right.
Yep.
And actually, you know what? It's funny. We were talking about WWE. I don't want to take too much more time here on this, but WWE is smart about it. They'll have their credible sources, because obviously it's all story driven. It's all like they build these stories. It's all fictional, right? They actually have their credible sources release news to mislead you.
Yeah, which again, when you are,
it's a story-driven thing. Like
right, when you are doing it, and everybody knows, like, hey, this is for the bit, this is for the storyline,
right?
Because at the end of the day, there's not a quote unquote real. It's real to me, man.
It is. Hey, they actually get hurt.
They do. I'm not trying to take that away from them.
Get me started.
But the storylines themselves are exactly that. They're storylines. It's to a degree scripted for what's going to happen. And we joke about the NHL being scripted, about the NFL. We made jokes about that earlier in the show. But like, as far as real scripting goes, WWE's got it figured out.
Oh, they are incredible. I'm going to talk about it more on this show at times, man. I mean, it's my thing. The only other thing we didn't mention with the whole Corey Perry thing is, I mean, look, regardless of what we find out, he joined the right team. The Oilers are on a 14-game winning streak.
That they are. They have, amazingly, as good as that 14-game win streak has been, they're still 7 points back of Vegas. They're still 13 back of the Vancouver Canucks, because even though they keep winning, so does everybody else. Realistically, I know you had picked Edmonton, I think, to win the division at the beginning of the year when we did our picks, knowing that there is still a considerable gap with Vancouver and with Vegas there ahead of them. Do you think Edmonton is able to catch either or both before the end of the year and end up with a division title? Where do you see Edmonton finishing now, knowing that Edmonton is playing Chicago tomorrow night as well, likely to stretch that win streak to 50?
Thank God I'm not going to. I got dinner plans tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to watch that probably debacle. But
so we'll start with that, and then we'll follow up with where do you see their win streak ending?
Well, so it's almost tempting to say that their win streak would end against one of the worst teams in the league, because that's just what happens. That's the trap game, right? Hit the like button. Let's go, please. I appreciate it. Thank you. We appreciate it. I don't know, man. I think I'd have without like knowing their Like, I'm trying to look at their schedule, at least their next 5 games real quick, which I have it pulled up right. Hold on. Hold on. I'm pulling it up right now, but to answer your other question while I pull up their schedule.
Well, I have their schedule up and to tomorrow at home against Chicago.
Yep.
Saturday at home against Nashville. Next Tuesday at Vegas.
I think it ends there.
That's probably it. If they can get through that, they do have at Anaheim, at LA, home against Detroit, at St. Louis. They've got a chance to really extend things there, maybe as far as at Dallas on February 17th.
That's actually my call. I know it's probably kind of crazy to call it this way progressively. They could make it to Dallas, and then I think Dallas does take it out. But as much as I want to say we can end it tomorrow, that's not going to happen. If Bedard was back, I don't know, maybe. but
HP, this team will never lose again.
Hey man,
fans, you know.
My prediction is the Oilers are back. My cup winner is back officially.
Until they lose to Chicago tomorrow night. Weird NHL, as Alex mentioned earlier at the top.
I am holding up the show as normal, and I'm the one that has to leave early.
Yeah, let's move on here. Let's go with the Islanders here. Bringing in Patrick Roy, their head coach. We can segue that into our pick segment too,
and we will. But as we segue into it, speaking of, yes, the New York Islanders, the Blackhawks got a second coach fired this year. So Blackhawks get their second head coach fired this year, beating the Islanders 4-3.
Just a reminder, who's the first one?
That wasn't Evison, was it?
That wasn't Evison.
Oh, okay. Oh, Vancouver, right? No, not Vancouver.
No, Vancouver didn't fire their coach.
Who the hell was it?
This is why I'm asking. This is why we're checking.
I'm trying to remember. Oh my God, who was it? This is gonna kill me. I'll have to go back and look. I'll go back and look and check. I forgot.
I'm keeping the schedule here to try and find where are the wins.
I believe it was. Was it? I think it was it Calgary? It might have been. No, it wasn't Calgary.
No.
Was it? Oh, duh. I think it was. Oh, no. No, it wasn't them. Man, this is.
Was it St. Louis with Craig Berube?
I think you got it. Yeah. Yeah, because we beat them 3-1 on December 9th. I think that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll look it back up, but yeah. So Blackhawks haven't won enough to forget.
No, because Berube was fired after a loss to the Red Wings. So. Anyway.
But yeah, we also the Blackhawks indirectly revived Patrick Roy's coaching career.
They did. And interestingly enough, that's going to segue right into the pick segment here, where our first game of the night is Patrick Roy's current team that he's coaching for against a former team that he used to play for. The New York Islanders -145 at the Montreal Canadiens +125. Joel, in a different kind of Patrick Roy return to Montreal, how do you see this one shaking out tomorrow night?
Not exactly the way I saw that going.
Not quite, but it kind of works out that way.
Well, Patrick Roy is 1-0 since he was named the coach of the Islanders, and I think he's going to go 2-0 in his return to Montreal. I am absolutely taking the Islanders.
I am kind of torn on this one because I do think, everything on paper tells me, look, Islanders are a better team. Can't put a whole lot of stock into Montreal right now. Even at home, Montreal's been bad, 9-12-3. I'm going to go with the Islanders. Pick with my heart and my head on this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal pulls a sneaky upset tomorrow night, especially after calling up Arbor Jakai earlier this week. He's back in the lineup now for Montreal, so there could be some fireworks anytime he's on the ice. There's something happens. So.
It was the Ottawa Senators coach.
Oh,
okay.
It
was DJ Smith.
Okay. Yeah. So we got we're both going the Islanders. Mark, your Boston Bruins came through for us last week, and guess what? They're on it again. Their third straight week on the pick segment. And Joel, I trust the process. Ride with Boston again this week. That's where I'm at.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at too. It's not even hard for me.
Well, the only way that the reason that this is closer in the odds than what it would be, one, if the game was in Boston, and two, Boston is on the second leg of a back-to-back where Ottawa is coming in fresh and at home. So there is that. That is why the betting action is closer. I do still think Boston takes it. For Boston tonight against the Hurricanes, I believe I'm trying to get the game cast up here and see what the lineups are. But of course, the ESPN app is bugging.
The ESPN app isn't working? What?
Yeah, imagine that.
What? It's okay. The NHL app is worst.
All right. It is Linus Ullmark in net in net tonight. So presumably would be Jeremy Swayman tomorrow.
Which that's fine.
So if that's the case, I mean, Swayman has been phenomenal this year, so that would work in their favor. And yeah, as Mark says, pick them because your boy's hot on the Beast picks lately. Yep. So riding with the Bruins in that one. Boston's opponent tonight, Carolina, they're tomorrow night minus 166 at home against the New Jersey Devils. Joel, I'm kind of tempted here to think about New Jersey. Again, the second leg of back-to-back, but man, New Jersey has been such a head-scratcher all season.
I hate it.
And especially without Jack Hughes, it is so frustrating to try and pick what to make of the Devils. 5-4-1 in their last 10. 14-7-1 on the road. Canes 13-5-4 at home. 4 points separating them in the standings right now. Where are you going on this one?
Ooh, this is tough because they're such a head scratcher. Oh man.
And Mark confirming it for us. Yep, Sway Day tomorrow on the Boston game.
Cool.
Thanks, Mark.
All the more reason I'm still picking them.
Yep.
And because I just picked two road teams, I think I got to switch it up and take the home team here, especially the Hurricanes are, as I say, Vegas is the hardest barn to play in. Carolina is in the top 5 conversation for sure. So I think I got to go with Carolina here.
Unless you're Minnesota on a football Sunday, in which case it's a much more pleasant barn to play. Yeah. There was a pretty good Wild contingent in the crowd.
You tend to do pretty well when your best player has a hat trick.
Yeah, that works well. Getting to see a Kaprizov hat trick in person was pretty freaking cool.
That was pretty sweet.
One of the players who, back when I was broadcasting with the Minnesota Mullets, one of the players on the Mullets from the 2019 team was also at that game. So I got to run into him at the game as well and see one of my former hockey boys there. So that was pretty sweet. You said you're taking Carolina on this one?
I think I'm going to go Carolina.
I'm going to be different and go New Jersey. I don't know why. I can't.
I'm kind of with you.
Just a gut feeling. My gut feeling says go New Jersey on this one.
No, I'm kind of with you on that.
Of course, my gut feeling said take the Rangers last week, and Vegas won 5-1. So who even knows? Predators plus 110 at the Minnesota Wild minus 132. The Wild, after a pitiful stretch of hockey, seem to have righted the ship here, putting together a slow but sure 3-game win streak. Don't look now, Blues and Coyotes, but we're coming for you. Don't look now, Preds, but we're coming for you. I kind of want to take my boys at home.
feel like I kind of want to do the same thing, actually.
Yes, let's go.
I might do the same thing. So you guys are 12-9-3 at home. You guys typically play
Circle the
well.
wagons, baby. We're back.
Preds are 12-9-1 on the road. You guys are rocking a 3-game win streak. You're feeling yourself. I think I'm going to ride the hot hand. I am going to take the Wild. I'm with you. Wild, so hot right now.
We're not Edmonton hot, but we're
nobody's going to be. There will be
now.
There's not going to be another 14-game win streak this season, and I will call that shot right now.
If I'm a betting man, yeah, that's a tap into an empty net. From my team to yours, the Chicago Blackhawks plus 1.5 goals at the aforementioned Edmonton Oilers. Joel, you already mentioned that you think that this is going to be Edmonton winning. Do you think this line moves up to Edmonton minus 2.5 by tomorrow?
Okay, here. There's two answers to this. I don't think it will, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It's going to depend. I'm assuming Peter. Oh, yeah, actually, that's the other tiny set of news. Peter Mrazek signing a 2-year extension with the Hawks. Absolutely well earned, which it's really funny, too. Like, he's played so well behind virtually no defense. And he's played very well. He earned that contract. And let's not forget that Toronto gave us a first-round pick to take him from them.
Yeah.
So, that first-round pick turned into Sam Rinzel, which is looking like a pretty decent pick. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing all right for himself so far. Strong showing at World Juniors and playing well for the Gophers. So,
yeah,
you'll love to see it.
Yeah, so all that said, Mrazek will probably play. That's why I think they'll probably still stay at 1.5, most likely, just because he has been playing so well. Man.
Talk again for a second here because I'm trying to look up something.
Well, yeah, actually. So on this topic, too, of my boys, we were talking about hot streaks in general, like with the Wild or the Oilers, hot streaks at home specifically. Then we get to the total opposite of a cold streak. Do you know the Blackhawks have now lost their last 17 road games in a row?
Wow. No, I did not know that one.
Yep. That's pretty good. But so obviously it's an easy win for the Oilers tomorrow night. Now we are on the road tonight at 9:00 in Seattle against the Kraken. Some people saying maybe take us on the money line to break that 17-game road losing streak tonight. Am I going to do that? No, because I don't like to throw money away. But
so is Mrazek going tonight though? Is the question?
Yes, so
there.
that is actually exactly what I was going to look up to make sure.
Arvid Soderblom going tonight at Seattle, so it looks like another L on the road trip.
So yeah, with Soderblom going tonight, that means Mrazek will be going tomorrow. So I think the line is going to stay at 1.5.
And just to show how different these two are, if Soderblom was going tomorrow, easy 2.5.
Oh, easy.
Soderblom on the year 2-14-1, 877 save percentage, 3.95 goals against.
Yep.
Mrazek 12-17-1. 907 save percentage, so 30 points better there, and a 3.01. He's averaging almost a goal less per game. And
quite frankly, he should actually be better slightly in all those stats. And there's been a couple games where he's let up quite a bit. I think he had a couple 5ers, I think, and then I think he might have had a 6 at one point. I'd have to go back and check, but those deflate his stats, and none of them were his fault. Like the defense, like Jared Tenorti specifically is a pylon. It's nothing we could do, like with injuries and such. I get it, but he's just a pylon. I don't even know what the hell he's even doing. Like I wish I got paid to not know what the hell I was doing. But anyway, I digress. I'm absolutely taking the Oilers minus 1.5.
Yeah,
yeah. Yes, Mark. I did say 5er.
Here's the thing. Win streaks got to come to an end at some point. Losing streaks got to come to an end at some point. As weird as this season has been,
Are you trolling me here? Or are you being serious?
no, I'm honest to God.
Whoa!
I'm really thinking about taking Chicago in this one. I'm really thinking about it because I feel like that's just a game where, like trap game almost for Edmonton, where bad team, second night of a back-to-back, we're on a heater.
The thing is,
they could come out flat, and anybody can be beaten in this league.
I don't, and I agree. I don't want to, and I'm not going to try and talk you either way. But let me say, I was kind of joking about it being a debacle because, despite obviously the losing streak and everything, the boys have been playing real hard. It's not for lack of trying. And especially a lot of that does go to Mrazek. So my whole, it's going to be Oilers -1.5 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like a 7-1 game or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Oilers don't play well against us. They end up winning, but they don't play well against us.
They don't. And I'm looking at the results from earlier this year. It was a 4-1 loss in Edmonton, but then a 2-1 loss in Chicago.
I was at that game.
And then going back and looking at the numbers from last year, because I seem to recall there being some pretty close games there as well.
We beat them.
Edmonton 6-5. It was a loss there. Edmonton 7-3, a loss. And then a 5-4 loss. So again, 4 of the last 5 meetings have been 1-goal games. I think I talked myself into Chicago +1.5 here. Or 3 out of 5.
Yeah, so
3 out of the last 5.
Hey,
I think I talked myself into it. I think I'm going to take Blackhawks +1.5.
All right. You know what? I could be proven wrong here. But my thing is I think it's going to be like our offense is so anemic. Yeah, we're getting oiled and feathered tomorrow. Our offense is so friggin' anemic that we'll put up 1, maybe 2 against them, but that's probably going to be it. And then they'll probably put up 4, I'd say. So I'm looking at like a 4-2. I do think they cover, but maybe they cover on an empty net.
So let's recap our picks here. I, for some unknown reason, am taking Blackhawks +1.5. I can't believe I'm doing it,
and I'm not.
Here we are.
I know my team, man.
Yeah, I said the same thing last week when it was a Wild loss. I feel the same way about the Wild win this week. You do as well. So we're both taking Minnesota. I am taking the New Jersey Devils on the road. Joel is taking Carolina at home. We are both taking the Boston Bruins on the road and both taking the New York Islanders on the road. And just a quick peek at the season standings here. 20-22. Joel, you have a chance to get back above 500 on the season with a solid week this week. I have a chance to get back above 500 here. We're within striking distance. And I got to get to that 100 wins, man. I need it.
You'll get there.
It's coming. So hopefully it's coming this week.
It's elite company, let me tell you.
Oh, it absolutely is. Thank you to everybody who tuned in throughout the show this week. We had so many comments here with Mark, Guile, Gun-Toting Granny, HP, Joey, Mateo. Just so many comments throughout the show here.
Hey, don't forget our friend Alex Micheletti. He jumped in.
And Alex Micheletti. I was scrolling back through the comments, getting through names. I still had to scroll that far back before I got to Alex Micheletti. So thank you to everybody who commented live throughout the show tonight. As a reminder, next week we are moving back to Tuesdays. So Tuesday, January 30th, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We hope to see you back here with us for that one. But again, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Pod Snipe Celly. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We like to think of ourselves as a 5-star podcast with a 5-star audience. So be sure to hit the like, hit the follow button, give us a rating if you feel led to do so. But yeah, that's all we got for tonight. Joel, any parting words here?
I'd say stay tuned. You might find us on TikTok soon.
That's a definite possibility. So we'll see what happens, and
Did I just tease something?
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy your night, everybody.
Burn.